Hello again, I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do another in a series of our collaboration videos. A challenge that was presented by one of our collaborators, Jason Bowen, and he basically didn't give us any photos. He just said, paint a horse. Left us with that and said, just don't paint a headshot, paint a full body of a horse. So that brought up an interesting challenge for everyone, and so we're all working on that this week. And I've studied a little bit about horses. It's amazing what you can find if you just Google anatomy of a horse. You find things that you didn't know about animals, and particularly how to paint them. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to paint a horse. And I thought I would remind you of our collaborators. Jason Bowen, as I mentioned, Clive Powell, and Brandon Schaefer and myself are the four collaborators that work on this. Every month we put up a new video, and we challenge each other with some sort of a unique painting to do. So anyway, with that said, I want to get going. I have a photo of my the horse I'm going to paint. I should also let you know that the photo this time came from it's really a Facebook page called Photos for Artists. And basically photographers put photos up there that artists are free to paint and free to use for their artwork. So I have a nice photo of this horse that I'm going to try to render today. And I'll be doing it on Fabriano Artistico 300-pound cold press watercolor paper, again, as I do many of my watercolor paintings. And so with that said, I think I said it was 11 inches by 14 inches in size. I want to give you just a little overview of one of the tools I use in my painting. You rarely see it on my palette camera because it's kind of to the top of the palette, but I have sort of a blotter type device that I use. It's really made up of a roll of toilet tissue and some paper towel. And I'll just show you kind of what I do here to make that. I just take about 4 or 5 sheets of plain paper towel and just fold it in half. And basically I get a long thin strip that's just about the width of the roll of toilet paper. So I take this toilet tissue and put it in here like this and just really fold it over and roll it up into a round. I've mashed this roll of toilet tissue down so that it's flat. It's not round as it would normally be, and I end up with a very nice blotter that I can use to control the water in my brush. Watercolor painting is very much at the mercy of water in your brush, water on the paper, water in the paint. So this is a nice tool. It's a tip I got from Sterling Edwards, and you know I use his brush set and his paints. So I just set it up here. It's kind of out of the way. You never see it. My water containers are up here, so these are things you don't see on the video when I start painting, because I have my palette here. So I'll put those back up, get my Sterling Edwards palette up here, and bring it up for you. And basically that's my setup. Get this thing squared around a little bit so you can see it better. Hopefully that's square. I hate to give you things that are not square. Kind of drives me crazy when I see things that are not squared up. And then let's talk a little bit about the brushes and the paints that we're using. This is pretty much standard for me anymore with watercolors. I'm pretty much sticking with this type of brushes. I use his Sterling Edwards large brushes. He's got like a 2-inch brush, a medium size 1.5 inch, and a 1-inch brush. These are made of bristle actually, and they have really short bristles, but they really make some nice, interesting blends, and are very good for certain types of effects in the painting. I also have a couple of flats. I have a 1-inch flat, a 1/2 inch flat. I have a number 12 round, a number 8 round, and a number 4 round. And I have a little script liner that I've added to the mix from American Painter. So that's my set of brushes. I may not use all those brushes, and that's okay. I have my palette here I'll go through with you and tell you the colors in here again, which are the same as every painting. This is kind of my standard palette, and I don't really change it or add to it much. I may change some in the future, but right now this is what I'm using. This is colors called, these are My Merry Blue transparent watercolors, neutral tint, primary blue, cyan, ultramarine blue, ultramarine violet, crimson lake, which is like alizarin crimson, garnet lake, cadmium red, burnt sienna, raw sienna, yellow ochre. I have cupric green, very much like a viridian green, golden lake, limon yellow, and primary yellow. Inside row here I have burnt umber, sap green, Auvergne orange, primary red magenta, and still to grain brown. So that's the paints, and that is the brushes, and that's talked about the paper. So you see at the top of my easel here I have a photograph of the horse that we're going to do. I'll overlay a better picture of that when I edit the video, but I have myself taped off here ready to go, and if I can get my alignment set up here, I will just realize I didn't have part of my equipment turned on here, which lets me move the camera back and forth, which I have to do. And so let's zoom in here. You can see my sketch there. Okay, I think that's about right. Oops, I'll go down just a little, get it aligned. I want you to be able to see, at least see the horse. And as I put I'm going to put the horse in first and do the background lastly. So with that in mind, I have to try to see if I can find this color. Now, I haven't painted this horse before, and I have done a couple of samples. I practiced on a couple of horses just to see if I could understand the different types of shading and the different types of ways to make it look three-dimensional, because you have certain ways to make that look three-dimensional that is not necessarily intuitively obvious. So let's see if we can start and get this this reddish color here. I'm going to pick up some of my burnt sienna here. That's not exactly the color. It's a little bit too brown probably. But if I can throw in some maybe cad red, see what that does. These two colors, I might be able to approach that color much closer. We'll see. It's a very beautiful horse, very beautiful coloring on this horse. And so I'm using my number 12 round brush here. And we'll just see if we can start like right in here and see what it looks like. It needs to be a little darker than that, I think. So we'll add a little bit of that. Now I'm painting today wet on dry paper. There's no wet on wet here. This is all wet on dry. When you're rendering something like this that's very specific, I always like to do wet on dry primarily because it's much easier to control. And as you know, I paint vertically, so I have to make sure that I control this paint as much as possible. A nice little mane here. We're going to throw in some coloring here. I want to pick up some other colors to get a little bit paint around his bridle. So the sketch for this horse, if you want to paint it, paint along with me or paint along after I'm done, the sketch will be on my website in the area where I have my YouTube videos. And by the link to the video, there's a little underlined link to show you where the sketch is, so you can pick up the sketch and use that as your guide. starting to see a little yellow in there. I don't know if I want to put too much in or not, but I'm starting to pick up a little bit of that color here that's sort of brighter. Like right in here. Around there, come back and get some more of this color, reds and so I'm trying to make the brush stroke go the way the body of the horse goes, like this. If you do that, you will help leave brush strokes that help enhance the three-dimensional quality of this painting. If you put horizontal or vertical strokes in here, you're going to make it look more like a landscape, but not something organic like a rounded belly of a horse. I'm trying to keep this so it doesn't dry out too quickly. I'm only trying to bounce back and forth between the colors. I'm going to pick up a little more of this brown here of burnt umber. Start coming down the leg here with a little bit darker color. Not quite dark enough yet. Let's get it going here. If I'm standing in your way here, I do have another camera that's focused a little bit at an angle over there. So when I edit this video, I can bring back the maybe make it a little easier for you to see what I'm doing here instead of looking at my back or my arm. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of coloring in there. And in here there's some dark coloring that sort of keeps that soft. Okay. And here we're going to put another color over the top of this to darken it down, but I want to just put this base color in right now to highlight the hoof of his right rear foot. Inside, we've got inside foot here. Has got our leg has a little darker. Picking up burnt umber and my burnt sienna. Want these values to be different, otherwise it will look like they're all part of the same. I want to make sure you know this leg is one that's in shadow and it's behind the other leg, even though it looks like it's in front of it in this way this looks. That's got to be gone over again with some dark, so I'll be put another layer over this, but let me put this in. Okay, so we're getting those two in. Over here, let's start down this guy while it's still wet. May have to put a little water in there to loosen that up just a little. Paint these things one at a time and try to so again, this wet on dry paper makes it a little easier to control, much easier to control than would normally be the case. If I were to wet this down, I'd have things running everywhere, and I really don't want that. Okay, we'll be putting a dark color over that. Now this side back in here is actually receding, so it's getting darker back in here. So more burnt umber, maybe a little bit of this garnet lake, which is a interesting purple. Kind of those two colors are giving me the value of what I want back here. It's a little too dark. Okay, that's leaving a hard line right here, which I really don't want. So let's see if we can soften it. I don't mind the hard line with his foot over it here, his leg, because that gives me the distinct difference between the parts of his body. But up here, I prefer that to be softer. A dry brush will help. Take a brush and just have some water in it and just sort of blend it together. Starting to get that way, okay. And then this continues on down here, but it's going to be dark, much darker. Much darker than that is going to be needed, but let's put this in as a undercoat. We'll come back and darken that up. Okay. Now, we can continue by painting around this harness bridle. More red in there. Here. Big number 12 brush. Only Okay, let's see now. Maybe we can start picking up some of this dark and pick up some neutral tint. Start darkening some of these things down, see what we can do here with the ears. A little bit of brown in there. A bit of purple in there. Okay, something like that. Tail, similar colors. Okay. Now, step back and take a look at that. Take a little break here. Okay, now this area here. Where we'll start enhancing the colors and putting in some of the shading. Okay. So that's putting a light coat of this neutral tint over this. Sort of darkening it as we come down toward the hoof. Letting some of that reddish brown show through. A couple of darker shadows in there. This is all trying to make it look three-dimensional. Now this other leg, inside leg, similar types of things. Probably want to water wet that down just a little to make it blend. darker right here. And we'll blend it with this. These are bristle brushes, synthetic bristle. So they do have some of those bristle characteristics that the big flat brushes have. So you can kind of pick paint up with them. You can sort of use them to blend out and blend together things. Okay. Now another leg over here. Let's see if we can get him really. These two are so dark they overlap and you can't really tell them apart. So I'm going to make this one back here and behind a little darker than the one in front of it, just to get separation. The photograph gives it almost a black look. And you really don't want that. Photographs, you have to make the photograph help you make things look real, because photographs tend to distort the values. Digital cameras basically try to average out the colors that they're, the values that they're seeing, and try to make things more of an even gray tone. So it basically causes you to paint things wrong if you just follow the photograph blindly, because you would not really see it that way in nature. You would not see those legs would not be that flat, that dark. Okay, this leg here, start here, make it, I put it on, it looks like it's going to be darker, but it will dry lighter. And let's starting to get that, you see that tendon, you see a nice sharp distinct tendon in his leg there. And there are some darker shadows in there. Maybe I'll come back and touch those again. Maybe just make that a little more distinct in some areas. Right here, you want to show there's a joint there. Back here. Something like that. Okay. Let's keep going here with these darks. I've got the nose and the eyes to put in. adding just a little colors to the horse's head to make it look a little more three-dimensional. Darker there. Okay, we're getting there. Dark thing back there that represents his other eye. Okay, now, let's see, we've got, put this bridle in. See what it looks like across here. One brush painting, folks, number 12 round. If you don't have a number 12 round, don't worry about it, but okay, then we've got some dark areas in here. Something like that. That horse is getting close to being finished. A few more shades in here, like this. Add some dark in here to give a little more value in here. Back here, there's a little bit of these all help indicate the roundedness of the form. Okay. Something like that. Okay. Get rid of some of these white specks. All right, I think that is about the horse. I don't have these hoofs in there yet. What are we going to do? Some of them have a little yellow ochre or something in them down there on this one. See if I can find that color. This one is more gray. It's not gray. This one back here is good. Okay, now we've got all this background to deal with. We don't want to mess up our horse. Could just leave it like that, but I want to put a little of that fence in, a little bit of that green background in, and try to finish it off. I think I'm going to maybe switch brushes to a flat brush now. And I also may make sure that thing is dry. I'm going to get my hairdryer out here and blow this thing. I'm going to turn my microphone off. Okay, I should be back online here. Now, how are we going to put this background in after we've put the foreground in? Good question. Let's see, let's take a little bit of clear water and we'll just put in some wet it down. I want this to be soft and diffuse back here. I don't want it to be very distinct. This 300-pound paper will take a lot of water, soak up a lot of water. We'll just put plenty in there. These feet here, I'm going to blur this a little bit. It's because I want to make it look like there's motion, because this horse is running. So one way to do that in a painting is make the foreground and background sort of blend together, give it some blurriness, and it does look like motion. We'll get plenty of water in here. Okay. So what do we want? We've got a lot of greens, and I don't have any greens in my palette right now. These things here are sort of a purplish color, which I do have in my palette. Let's see if we can pick up some this yellow here, primary yellow, maybe some sap green. See if we can get a color that kind of looks like a background. We'll just start throwing in some of these up here. Something like that. Add a little blue to it to get some darker values. Whoops. Not that blue. I want to use my ultra blue. Throw in some. While that's wet, above the fence, around his tail, between the fences. Okay, and that starts a little more dark in there, pick up some neutral tint and some blue, and see if we can keep going over here. Just put it in there. Get it dark. start changing from the green to this ochre color. In here. Just give me some. When I'm not talking, folks, I'm thinking. Okay, get some more greens in here, some darks. Okay. Little area in here. It's got some, needs a little green, I think. Okay. What I've got left is that little fence and maybe a few touch-ups and splatters. Paper towel here, get moving. So this fence, I think maybe it's probably a better fit for my half-inch brush than it is for my 1-inch brush. So let's see if we've got that color. We sort of have this purplish color that has some brown in it, mixture of burnt sienna and Garnet Lake, which is a purplish color, and maybe a little bit of our neutral tint. Pick up some of that purple. So that's pretty, that's kind of a scruffy looking fence. So I'm going to try to rough brush it as much as possible. if you pull the brush fast over these areas, you get this rough texture. Like that. Do it over here, probably better. Something like that leaves you a okay. And then these posts have sort of a mossy green look to them with some ochre in it. I'm going to take my yellow ochre and mix it with some of this green I've got here. See if I can get a little bit of a that's not quite the color I'm looking for. More ochre. See if that's looking close. All right, now a bit darker stuff over here. A bit of a shadow under here. Okay, leave it loose, leave it. Do have a couple of tree trunks in here that should go right in there. I don't know if this is too wet, we'll see. Not too bad. Another one over here. Something like that. We might have some other trunks and things going on in here. Don't want this to be too busy. If I get it too busy, I'll be spending time looking in the background. I don't want you to look in the background. I want you to focus on this horse. So let's just put a few things in here that might indicate there's some trees or whatever back there. Even some debris on this thing. We don't want to forget debris. We don't want to forget to splatter. There's a lot of little chunks of stuff floating around down here. It's just little globs of dirt and whatever where this horse has been digging up. And then I think with that I'll take my bigger brush, get a lot of water in it, and pick up some of these colors I got hanging around the palette here and just see if I can add a few more splatters to it like that. I want to take this area in here and sort of, he's basically kicking up the dust right in here. Forgot that. It's sort of a blurry area, so I'm just wetting this now. I'm going to come back with my paper towel and sort of blot that out, see if I can get that look of dust being kicked up. It kind of makes it something like that, maybe a little more right in here. See if we can blot that, splatter this, blur this down here a little bit so it looks like he's kind of moving fast. If that blurred it or if it made it worse. So if it's not clear and distinct, it will help. It helps, gives you the idea of motion going on here. I'm picking up some of my other splatters, but basically I want this to indicate some movement in there, indicate some dust in here. Need to take a little more of that out, maybe a little more water. Just sort of okay, that gives you the blurry feeling. Okay, so it looks like he's moving. Looks like he's got some motion. Am I forgetting anything here? Let's see. Maybe just a little grass in this area right here. Too many little white areas floating around, kind of pulled the eye around. I don't want a lot of those white areas floating around. Okay, I think that gives me the look I'm going for. I hope that is representative of a horse, according to the Collaborator's challenge. And I'm going to assume that it is. I'm going to got a little room over here for my signature, I hope. I'm going to pick up my script liner. Block print my name, and I think with that I'm going to zoom back my camera here and say thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoy this painting. I hope you give it a try. I hope you check out the other Collaborators videos. They'll be linked beneath this video on my channel, and check their work and see how they interpreted this challenge to paint a horse. And so until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.